do you make software zero trust if, it's kind of like a canvas?
Yeah. Well, you start with simple principles, Yes, you want developers to go bring in stuff and move fast and use the latest and greatest, but you kind of slow down to speed up. For example, some very practical controls are pin your dependency versions such that you're not just auto updating without fully understanding what's going on. A second tactic is what we call a package cooldown period. So in Endor, as an example, you have a policy now where you can say, look, you can use any new versions, but you got to wait 48 hours or 24 hours. You can configure that. Why do we give a 24 to 48 hour period? Because usually if there's malware, folks like us and other researchers will find it quickly within a matter of hours. So if you just waited 24, 48 hours, there'll be enough community vetting around these new versions to know it's safe to use. So you could just have a cooldown policy like that. Certainly looking at the score factors, I talked about the 150-point inspection. If you just had automated guardrails that said, look, before a developer pulls a package in, we want to make sure it's vulnerability free, exploit free, generally has good practices followed in this library that we want to rely on for our core software, that would go a long way. So it's back to the basics, Ron. Just put some controls for verification and validation that are fully automated, that don't necessarily slow down development. And most importantly, what I think AppSec has to fundamentally shift from is from being the department of saying no and being a department that finds problems and tosses them over the fence to developers, and developers hate you for doing that, to actually finding answers for that. So if you don't like a package, for example, because it's risky, propose an alternative. If you think there's a vulnerability, go verify if it's actually reachable and exploitable. Don't put that on the developer to go do that. If you want them to perform an upgrade, go tell them which upgrade version path will work and give them a high degree of confidence that if they hit the approve on a pull request where you've created that for them, it actually won't take down their application. So I think we have to fundamentally shift strategy. And also we need to stop measuring how many things we're finding to actually how many things we're fixing.